Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the SMA Journey 51 series. So the other day I produced a video entitled, I Need Your Help. And what I did was I asked that you guys send me some questions so that you can get to know me a little better. And if you had any questions regarding the Spinraza treatment, I asked you to send those as well. So I got a total of 10 questions. So what I'm going to do is instead of trying to answer all of the questions in one video, this would make it way too long. I'm going to answer questions 1 through 5 in this video, and then tomorrow I'll produce another video answering questions 6 through 10. So I hope you enjoy them. Let's get started. The first question that I received came from a user who doesn't live in the United States. And I received a couple of questions from those of you that don't live in the US, and we know that English is not your first language, so I had to interpret some of these questions to the best of my ability. So I hope I got them correct. The first question is, how can I start a treatment trip and am not an American? Okay, so we know that Spinraza is available in the US, but Biogen has stated that it is going to be available worldwide in the coming months and possibly in the coming years. So what I would recommend you doing if you don't live in the United States is to contact your local governmental office and talk to their medical division to see if they know anything about Spinraza, and if they do, maybe they can give you some information. With regards to coming to the US, that's a decision that you would have to make. I don't know what would be involved as far as visas and getting clearance to come into the US to receive the treatment or not. I don't know if you have to live or you have to be an American citizen to get the treatment in the US. That I'm not sure of. So again, check with your governmental office to see what they have to say, because Spinraza may be coming to your area sooner than you think. Okay, so question number 2 comes from the same user who lives outside the United States. And the question goes on to ask, how long is the treatment timeline? By what I understand, and from what I've read, everybody's going to receive 4 shots, which are considered your loading doses. And then you receive 1 shot or 1 injection every quarter, or basically 4 shots every year. So if you take the 4 loading doses, you get your first shot, you wait 3 weeks, get your second shot, wait 3 weeks, take your third shot, and then you're supposed to wait 4 calendar weeks or 1 month before your 4th and final loading dose. So if you do the math, 3 plus 3 plus 3, which are your first 3 loading doses, and then you wait another 4 weeks for the 4th loading dose, that's going to give you 13 weeks, which is approximately just a little over 3 months. Now, with this being said, this could change because Biogen may change the rate of injections based on data that they've received back from people that are already on the treatment. So I would say give it between 2.5 to 3 months for your loading doses, and then you're going to receive 1 shot every 4 months or every quarter for the rest of your life. Okay, so question number 3 comes from the same user who lives outside the United States, and he goes on to ask, financial cost is a big problem, and I am confused by the lack of material available in the survival of the disease. Are there institutions that can help me in this regard? Now, we all know that the first year worth of Spinraza is going to be at a cost at about $750,000, and then it's projected that it's going to be between $300,000 to $350,000 a year for the rest of your life. So I would say 99% of us are going to have to rely on our insurance. Those of you that have private funded insurance will probably receive the injections sooner than those of us that are on government assistance, such as Medicare or Medicaid. But Biogen has already stated that nobody is going to be denied treatment based on their inability to pay for it. So really what I would recommend you doing is not worrying about the cost of the treatment. What I would do first is go ahead, get with your neurologist and fill out that start form and let your neurologist send it into Biogen. Biogen will then call you and they will assign what they call a FAM, or a Family Access Manager. And I believe that's what FAM stands for. I could be wrong. But they'll assign somebody that is going to follow you throughout your treatment. And this person will be responsible for answering all of these questions. Your FAM will also be responsible for dealing with all of the insurance questions that you have, contacting your insurance, and making sure that you're set up and ready to go before you're approved for the treatment. So go to your doctor, get your start form filled out, let them assign you your FAM, and then let this person do the work for you, or let this person be concerned about contacting your insurance and taking care of all of these needs. Okay, so question number 4 goes on to read, what obstacles have you overcome throughout your life with regards to high school, college, and work? Well, whenever I was going through junior high and high school back in the late 70s and the early 80s, there really wasn't a lot of ADA compliance with regards to Americans with Disabilities Act. I know that my junior high that I went to had no ramps whatsoever. And I know that whenever my mother took me to school, they had to carry me up 3 or 4 steps at the front of the school so I could get access into the school. So really what happened was my parents worked with the Dallas Independent School District whenever I was in junior high to ensure that ramps were constructed and built throughout all of the DISD schools. So even though this was before the ADA compliance, my parents worked really hard to make sure that I had access to all the schools that I would be needing to go to so I could get the education that I needed. With regards to high school, I went to Skyline High School, which was in Dallas, Texas. And at that time, it was the largest high school in the world, especially with regards to population. But with regards to the high school, the ramps had already been constructed. Thanks again to my parents for being so diligent and making sure that this process was followed throughout all of the Dallas Independent School Districts. So my high school days from 1980 through 1984 really weren't all that bad because all of the construction had already been accomplished. With regards to college, again, this was a moot point because most of the colleges at that time had already come in to the ADA compliance. So all the ramps and the accessibilities were there. The bathrooms were handicap accessible. So I had no problems with regards to college. Now, work was another story because at the time I worked for the largest company in the world, and Mobil Oil spent a lot of money to make sure that everything was accessible to me. They installed self-opening doors on many of the doors that I had to access throughout my workday, and I know this cost them a lot of money, but they ensured me that no matter where I went on that campus, that I would have access. All the bathrooms were set up so I could get into them. So the working environment past, say, 1990 became very accessible to anybody that had either a handicap, whether or not they were in a wheelchair, or if they were walking on braces and crutches, or really any disability whatsoever. So those really were not a lot of challenges that I faced. And really, we should be thankful that we're living in the times that we do now. Because if I had been born 50 or 60 years ago, I would have never been able to do what I accomplished today. Okay, so question number 5 goes on to read, how has your body changed throughout the years due to SMA? A timeline might be good for this. Okay, so I did set up a timeline here on my sheet of paper, but it probably won't be available for you to view on your screen because it's a little bit too long and cumbersome. But from the age of 0 to 2, I crawled just like every other child. That's when my parents noticed that I wasn't really pulling up and trying to walk like I should have been. I saw a picture that I can't find for the life of me now, but it showed me actually supporting my weight. And it was the only picture that my parents had of me doing this. Again, I can't find it. I wish I could. But it showed me supporting my weight next to a large marble coffee table that we had in our family room. But again, that was the only shot that they got of me, and that was the only time that they could remember of me actually standing and supporting my weight. From the age of 2 to about the age of 14, I walked with braces and crutches, and I used a manual wheelchair. When I was 2 years old, I was admitted into Scottish Rite Hospital for Children, and that's where they taught me how to walk on braces and crutches. And they taught me how to put the braces on, to stand up, and to maneuver, around doors and hallways, and then sit back down in my wheelchair. So I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks, and this is when I learned how to use the braces and crutches. And I used these braces and crutches and walked as much as possible up until the age of about 14, all the way through junior high. Once I got out of junior high, it became more realistic to think that walking on braces and crutches really wouldn't be a viable option because my classes were so far spread apart that it would be easier for me just to sit in my wheelchair. So my parents did buy me my first electric wheelchair at that time. So up until the age of about 14, I was in a manual chair. And then from 15 years up until right now, I've been using an electric wheelchair all of my life. From the age of 22 to about the age of 47, I drove a full-size Ford van that was equipped with adaptive equipment so I could drive. And this was wonderful because at that time I was in college and I was able to drive myself. And after college, I was able to take myself to and from work. So the taste of freedom again was wonderful because I was just able to get in my van and go wherever I wanted to. But when I was 47, I started noticing that my arms were becoming a little bit weaker. So I made the conscious decision at that time to quit driving. And while this was a difficult decision to make, I made it because I was afraid that if I was driving and if my arms became too weak, I would lose control of my van. Now, if I killed myself, that would be one thing. But if I was going to be persistent and drive and take that chance, and if I killed somebody else, I don't know if I really could have lived with myself making that kind of decision. So when I was 47 years old, I decided to sell my van, and I purchased another van, just a minivan, that we've been using ever since. So anyway, I sold my van, purchased a minivan, and that's what we've got right now. So basically my progression of the disease has been, I think, normal. I see other people that have the same type, say type 3 SMA that I do, and they're much worse off than me. And I've seen some that are much better than me. So everybody's going to be a little bit, I guess you could say this is individualized as to the person. So I've been very fortunate that I haven't progressed as much as others. Okay guys, that's the end of this video. I've covered questions 1 through 5, and tomorrow, which will be Friday, I'll produce the next video covering questions 6 through 10. I hope you guys have a great day. God bless you. And until tomorrow, bye-bye.